As this cold blast approaches, plants will be the most vulnerable against this kind of weather. I spoke with our South Texas gardener, Gabriel Vega, about the best ways you can keep your plants protected from frostbite. Gabriel, tell me more about frost protection. This is the time of year when we might see 1 or 2 days before we hit spring.
That's correct, Brian. So the thing to know about frost protection is the main goal is to try to create a microclimate during the night whenever these radiant freezes tend to happen. Radiant freezes will tend to suck out all kinds of heat from just about any inanimate object. So that's the main thing. And the quick go-to for most gardeners, since we usually find ourselves trying to scramble in a pinch, is going to be plastic tarps. Plastic tarps aren't the best thing to do, partly because they're very thin and they don't really do a great job of actually trapping heat. But the main reason why tarps really shouldn't be used is probably because most of the time they're used incorrectly. So a lot of times we'll just drape them over some plants, but the problem with that is as the tarp starts to sit, it'll make contact with the leaves and it'll start to crinkle and create these different pockets where moisture will gather and actually make more contact with the leaf, causing the plants to develop ice crystals. When those ice crystals thaw, chlorophyll leaks out, plants just tend to fail unless they are more established plants, of course. But if there are people like me who are trying to get a jump start on spring, you've got small seeds and small things germinating, it's really necessary to take proper precautions in covering these things. If you are going to use plastic, or better material would be burlap, heavy curtains, old heavy bedspreads, things like that. The main principle you're going to want to incorporate is to capture the radiant heat that's escaping from the ground, sort of like my coffee cup here. Heat, as the temperatures drop, heat from the ground will actually start to bleed upwards or evaporate. The idea is you want to create some kind of covering or a capsule using boxes or containers, totes, like old plastic totes. All these things can work. You can basically just utilize them like a cap. Try to avoid contact from any plastic tarp with the leaf. But that's the main thing. If you can capture the radiant heat from the ground escaping upwards to create that microclimate, then when the day comes and things start to heat up, your plants will be in much better health.
Is there anything else? Can you use any kind of UV lamp or heat lamp? Is that anything you recommend?
Any kind of radiant heat is going to be fine. You just got to remember that heat escapes upwards. So, if you have some kind of heat lamp, you're going to want to put that, underneath, on a lower side of the plant, so that way the heat can kind of get trapped in that space. But another real effective way is to remove any mulch or leaves around those plants that you want to protect. The reason that is because those mulches and leaves will actually prevent heat from escaping out of the ground. So you'll want to remove that. You can also water the ground on the night of the freeze because with the water and the mass, it actually helps to prevent a lot of heat and freezing happening at the root zones, and will actually prolong the radiant heat from escaping out of the ground to where it's more easier to be harnessed.
Good information as usual. Thank you, Gabriel.
My pleasure.
And don't forget, you can see this interview again later on our website, so you can go over everything Gabriel talked about. And of course, the South Texas Gardener is here every Saturday on 3 News First Edition Weekend.